Hello, friends. Let me start with a simple question. What if I told you that one trade deal signed quietly between India and Europe has the potential to rearrange global power equations, weaken America's trade dominance, and give Donald Trump a massive geopolitical headache? Sounds dramatic, right? But that's exactly what just happened. Yesterday, India and the European Union signed what's already being called the mother of all trade deals. And almost instantly, Western media exploded with headlines like, "Why Trump Won't Like the India-EU Mega Deal." Even before the deal was officially signed, the U.S. Treasury Secretary went public and accused Europe of funding the war against itself by trading with India. Yes, according to Washington, if Europe buys fuel from India and India buys crude from Russia, then Europe is indirectly helping Russia. So before the celebration even started, the pressure had already begun. Which raises a serious question. Why is America so uncomfortable with this deal? Why is Trump's camp reacting so aggressively? And why could this agreement become a turning point, not just for India or Europe, but for the entire global trade system? Let's unpack this calmly, clearly, and without putting you to sleep. Here's something most people don't realize. India and the European Union have been negotiating this trade agreement since 2007. That's nearly 2 decades. The talks collapsed in 2013. They were revived in 2201. And honestly, this could have dragged on for another 5 years. So, what changed? The world changed. We are currently living in a period where the global trade order is fractured. Protectionism is rising. Tariffs are being used like weapons. Supply chains are being redesigned around politics. Earlier, trade was mainly about efficiency and cost. Now, trade is about power, influence, pressure, and punishment. And a major reason behind this shift has been the conduct of the United States over the last few years. Donald Trump looks at trade like a zero-sum game. If America has a trade deficit with a country, Trump's conclusion is simple. America is losing. Someone is cheating. Put tariffs. And that thinking was applied to almost everyone. China? Tariffs. Europe? Tariffs. India? Tariffs. Canada? Tariffs. Mexico? Tariffs. Even NATO allies weren't spared. At one point, Europe watched the US impose tariffs on its own military partners over disputes as random as Greenland. That was the moment Europe realized something important. America is no longer guaranteeing economic stability. America itself has become a risk. India had already understood this. India's position was clear. We will not build our economy based on threats. But when Europe felt the same pressure, it finally decided to move fast. The result? India and the EU stopped waiting for Washington's approval and accelerated their own trade future. What's actually in this deal? This isn't symbolic diplomacy. This deal is massive. According to India's Commerce Minister, India will eliminate or reduce tariffs on 96% of European goods. Europe, in return, will remove tariffs on 99% of Indian exports. That means Indian products like textiles, pharmaceuticals, engineering goods, gems and jewelry, chemicals, industrial products will now enter Europe at near zero duty. For Indian exporters, this is enormous. Europe is not a poor market. Europe is not unstable. Europe buys high-value products, and that matters. Because if one large market becomes hostile or expensive, you must have another large, wealthy market to absorb your exports. The US can buy iPhones and missiles. Europe can buy medicines, machinery, clothing, jewelry, vehicles, chemicals, and technology. That makes Europe strategically irreplaceable. Of course, this wasn't a one-sided win. India also made concessions. Tariffs were reduced on automobiles, wines and spirits, luxury goods, machinery, chemicals. Because no serious trade deal is free lunch. It's negotiation, not charity. But the bigger picture is simple. India has just secured long-term preferential access to one of the richest markets on Earth. Why Trump and the US are unhappy? There are three major reasons. First, America loses leverage. Tariffs only work when the target has no alternatives. This deal creates an alternative. The threat of "we'll shut our market" becomes weaker when another massive market opens wider. That alone reduces America's pressure power over India. For decades, global trade architecture revolved around the United States. Major trade routes, financial systems, and supply chains flowed through America. But now, two massive economic blocs have deepened trade without U.S. leadership. That's not just economics. That's a structural shift. This deal sends a loud message to the developing world. To Africa, to Latin America, to Southeast Asia. The message is simple. You don't need to accept trade threats as destiny. You can build parallel partnerships. You can create multipolar trade systems. For Trump's worldview, where tariffs are weapons and America is the control center, this is dangerous. because influence only works when people believe there is no alternative. Strategically, this deal strengthens India's autonomy. India reduces overdependence on any one power. India expands market access. India strengthens its role as a swing economy. Econometrically, the benefits are huge. Exports could grow by tens of billions annually. Labor-intensive industries like textiles, garments, footwear, and manufacturing get a boost. That means jobs. That means industrial expansion. That means resilience against global shocks. Diplomatically, this proves something important. India can negotiate tough deals. India can protect red lines. India can open markets without sacrificing agriculture and dairy. That's mature economic statecraft. Europe gains access to the fastest-growing major consumer market in the world. Europe reduces over-reliance on China. Europe reinforces rule-based trade in a chaotic system. And most importantly, Europe proves it is not economically hostage to U.S. politics. This deal allows the EU to tell Washington, we can build prosperity even when your policies change every election cycle. That is powerful. This is not just a trade agreement. This is a geopolitical statement. A new trade axis is emerging, India-European Union, and it reflects a world that is slowly shifting from one dominant center to multiple interconnected power hubs. Multipolar trade, multipolar influence, multipolar resilience. And that, more than tariffs or fuel or exports, is what makes this deal historic. So when people ask, why is Trump unhappy with the India-EU deal? The real answer is not diesel, it's not deficits, it's not even tariffs, it's control. Because this deal shows that the world is learning to trade, grow, and align, without asking permission from any single capital. And once that mindset spreads, it doesn't reverse. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more geopolitics explained in simple language, hit like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Do you think this deal marks the beginning of a new global trade era? Until next time, stay informed, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.